the Historic Preservation Commission. So calls. Here. Here. Russell. Not here. One. Set a forum. Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item number 1 on the agenda is the minutes. There are minutes attached to the agenda from the regular meeting on January 22nd. Have a motion. January 22nd, minutes attached. Item B, there's also minutes for the special February 1st attached. Comment. Do I have a second? All in favor? Okay, item 2, consideration of public comments. Those wishing to address the Historic Preservation Commission need not request action as a result of public comment. Directing staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for consideration at a later time. So I have one request from Donna. Or do you want to talk on an agenda? No. Okay.
And I thank you for letting me come up and speak for a few minutes. I'm back once again to talk to you about Palo Christi. You know, the school board is looking at it again. They are going to need a new elementary school. And they are talking about renovating Palo Christi and reopening it, or else they will build a new school. And they had a group come up from Phoenix and take a look at it, and they came back with a figure of $17 million. I've seen some of the report, and part of it is to renovate 3 of the old buildings, which initially they said they would tear down. Now they're talking about renovating it, which I don't think the school district is what they planned for it to happen. But when in talking about it, they were discussing whether or not they should come back for a bond issue on it. And the city manager told them that in 2020, the city will come back for the 1% tax that was lost in the last election. And so they are looking at coming for a bond election in 2019 to renovate Palo Christi. It's still under discussion. They've still got some things to be done. They're going to be doing some surveying, that type of thing. But I would like to urge the historic preservation to get involved in this by supporting it, talking to the school board members, writing letters, doing whatever you can to really bring this to the forefront. There are some of us that have been going to the meeting, and they told us, if we're going to do this, we're going to need your support. You're going to have to get out and work on this bond issue. And we said, okay, we'll do that. But we can't do it alone. And I think if you read the rants and raves, which sometimes is a mistake, but in the minor, all of the rants and raves are against Palo Christi. And I don't, of course, they don't identify who they are. And there's been letters, and the editor's letter is against Palo Christi. I think we really have to make a positive statement if we want this to happen. I wanted to read you a statement out of the Standard by a school board member. She expressed opposition. It's Ginny Shumway. She expressed opposition. She said she thinks the school district can handle its space needs in other ways, and that the school district should not be involved in preservation of historic buildings. Now, I was really distressed to hear that. Our school board should not be involved in historic preservation. I think, you know, history is an important part of our community and our nation and individuals, and that they should support this. So I'm just here tonight to ask that you take an interest in this, write letters, calls, urge other people to get involved. I'm still going to the meetings, and I'll still do follow-ups, but there's got to be a lot more involvement. I thank you very much.
Election of chair and vice chair.
You can, Madam Chair, you can take nominations from your commission, nominations amongst yourselves, nominate each other, or if you're interested in keeping the position, we'd need a motion in that regard in that direction from one of your colleagues. There you go.
Here's the thing, I don't think this is I'm busy up to my ears. And I had spoken about this before, that I was willing to step down from chair to chair or step down altogether. If someone wants, because of my business, I don't want my work. Having said that, I do love to start with work and I'm on the commission. Pointing that out, so I not. So. No. And that's why we love you. So are there any suggestions for nomination for chair first? Right? That's
And staff is here for whatever you need. We'll help you. I mean, the important part is conducting the meeting. Then we would need a nomination in that direction from one of the other commissioners. A nomination nominating Mr. Messersmith as chair. We need a nomination and then a vote, then a formal vote. There you go. And then you'd call for a normal vote.
and then all in favor of Mr. Chair.
And then the same thing for vice chair.
And that's the vice chair. Vice chair.
Oh, I thought you'd nominate Nikki since she's not here to defend herself.
Okay, all in favor?
So then now normally and formally now you would hand the gavel over to Mr. Messersmith to run the meeting. Which he's now not as prepared. I don't know. You're welcome to stay there through this meeting since. Okay.
Okay. Shall we just finish it now? Okay.
There you go.
Last round. Okay, let's see.
Madam Chair, if I may just indulge just for a quick minute since we're talking about commission members, I'd like to formally welcome Greta Warren as our newest commissioner. Thank you so much for joining us.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you, old chairman and new chairman. My name's Andy Sansom. I've been in Kingman since 65, Bullhead since 44. I just like to throw that in there. And I don't do this very professional, so if I start wandering, just throw something at me. Anyway, I don't know how many of you, I brought this up a couple meetings ago that this replacement of the machine gun was being looked at. Well, it is going. I gave you a handout. I hope everybody's got it, from Mr. Bob Wallace, retired Lieutenant Colonel, and he's on the Military Order of Devil Dogs Committee out of Phoenix, and they are heading up the group to get this done. And there's a story behind it. I'll kind of read what he has here. And he says, they're working closely with the County Works Department. The Board of Supervisors approved our written proposal to restore and get its original condition. And I understand that's where the county dropped it. They said, okay, do it. And then we've decided to replace the machine gun with an exact replica made of bronze or copper to reduce the attraction of future theft. They got a renowned sculptor from Sedona, Clyde Ross Morgan, to develop the sculpture. Anyway, the sculpture and everything is done, and now they're going around trying to get financing. The whole group, I think that is to refurbish the statue and everything. I was over there looking, and it's pretty bad shape. The whole thing's going to run about $20,000. They hope to have it by June, because I think that's the anniversary of when it was put in 1928. They don't have the money. They're looking at November. I don't know why November. But anyway, right now, last Thursday, they had 9,000. And I would say the majority of it come from Mojave County Union High School classes of the 60s. They got kind of a battle going on between them as to who can raise the most. So anyway, that's really all I have. I just want to know that, just to let you know it is going. And according to Mr. Wallace, it is going to be done. It's just a matter of June or November. And I take it that if they don't have the money, it will be done somehow through this Military Order of Devil Dogs. And I don't know much more about it. I really don't have anything to do with it. It's just one of them lives in Phoenix and the other one lives in Prescott. They're both from Kingman. They went to high school here. And so, Bob keeps me informed. So is there any questions? If I can't answer it, Sandy can write them down because she's real fast. I will find an answer, good or bad, and get back with you.
Okay.
They found an original, but they're making a sculpture of it. They found it in Tucson, I think. Yeah, that's where this Sedona sculptor, Clyde Ross Morgan, he developed the replica. They won't turn loose of it. Yeah, they did try to get it, but they said they wouldn't turn loose of it.
Andy, do you know, is there a local contact for accepting donations?
Well, there is an unofficial local, Sue Snell. Right now she's not doing anything because she's really tied up with March Madness. She has to go watch it every year. But she should be back within the next 2 or 3 weeks, and any local donations we're seeing, they trickle through her, and she will send them to Bob Wallace. So anyway, I guess what we're doing is we're bumming money.
Right.
I will say one thing. I'm not here to represent the museum at this point, but the museum did donate $1,000. So we're always looking for more, though. And they did say that if they go over the 20,000, the remaining part will be donated to that Wallapai soldier, Saskatchewan, whatever his name is. I can't pronounce the names. But he's got a monument they're working on, the Wallapais are. He's got a, excuse me, I'm hoarse. It does have a gravesite up here at the cemetery. And it will be used to maintain that or something. They're not going to keep the money.
Thank you,
I made it.
Andy.
Next up,
Good job. I've got my microphone right here.
okay, item report on the historic World War II Fairfield Flight Tower.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Andy, for that report, because it also ties in a little bit with the historic flight tower out at the airport. Andy has been just so instrumental in helping us with putting that together as well, this historic preservation plan. The tower preservation plan was funded through a SHPO grant that you're aware of, that we've used in the past. It's SHPO, what they call pass-through money. That's available to us just about every year. It's a $16,000 project limit, $10,000 of it in grant money, $6,667 in matching funds that came from City Council. That grant was awarded in September of last year. If you remember, we talked about that. It was on the agenda. We then went to bid and we hired Otwell and Associates to put the preservation plan together. He did a fantastic job. They spent 2 days up here doing research, and again, that's where Andy and the museum, I'd like to recognize the museum itself, the library, and all their volunteers over there. Just did a remarkable job digging in and finding all the history to that tower. We also spent a day out at the Chrysler Proving Grounds in Yucca, where the sister tower was located. There's an identical tower to our tower out at the Proving Grounds. The only difference, due to safety reasons, when Ford owned the Proving Grounds, they disassembled that tower and reassembled it, but with one section lower. So now that tower out there is just a little bit lower than ours, but it's identical. Chrysler's also been willing to share some equipment from their tower that was still intact. When we decide what to do with ours out at the airport, they're willing to share some of their equipment, the radio equipment that was inside the tower at the top. Ours disappeared. The radio equipment and all the things inside disappeared over the years. But the Chrysler one is still in. They still have the radio equipment, and they're willing to share it with us when we decide what we're going to do with ours. The preservation plan itself, they did a complete analysis of the structure from top to bottom, identified, deficiencies in every element, if you will, electrical, the structure, the stairs, flooring, windows. We've got a window pane missing in ours. The flooring may need to be looked at. When a preservation plan like this is completed, and I've got copies I'd like to, offer to you, but they're fun to look at, but I'd ask that you come and look at them in my office, because we can sit down and talk about it. But what they do is they identify any shortcomings that the building has, and then they offer suggestions on how to properly preserve it in terms of meeting the criteria that the Secretary of Interior standards outlines in regards, pardon me? And prioritize them. And he also can give us a suggestion, kind of a range of what it might cost to do that. He did not offer any possible uses for it because it's so unique. I know our department, Mr. Kellogg and I have talked about it. Bennett has talked about possible uses of what can we do with a restored tower. There's not much to do for ours to restore it. We're hoping that the cost is, less than $50,000. But then what do you do with it other than just a static display? It's, from a risk standpoint, from a public risk standpoint, you wouldn't want the public climbing those stairs for any reason at all. It's just too risky. So we're still trying to decide what to do, but it may end up just being a wonderful restored light tower. I know there also, this isn't really on the topic, but it relates. We are out to bid for renovation of the terminal, and during that renovation, we're going towards the theme of a World War II, if you will, like an officers' club kind of motif for that. So if we can tie that in with the tower, just make it look more, a little more appealing to the public and tourism related, if you will. Bring them out there, let them see what we've got. Our airfield is so important to this community, and it was so important to the war, that I think it's really important that we recognize that and keep those things, what we've got left, keep those things intact. So, yes, sir. And
as much as I believe information, unless it's visible.
Exactly. And those are the things that have been already discussed and prioritized in here. If it's not going to be public, then we're not going to mess with the we'd like to replace all the glass, not all of it, replace the glass that's missing. Take a look at whatever it takes to clean up the railing around. If there's floorboards missing that when you look up and you see daylight, well, let's put a floorboard in there. But very minimal.
Proving ground.
We've also,
The officers.
right, and we've also got our HR department, our risk manager, and the attorney's office looking at where our limits are with, is it even possible? We haven't thrown out the idea of allowing the public up there in maybe the form of a tour, a guided tour, or something like that, especially if we had radio equipment that was there. Then interested, because just the day that I was there with the architect, she and our airport manager were up in the tower, analyzing it all. I had two people. One was from Germany and one was from Ireland. They were in Kingman just to look at the airport tower. I'm like, on the day that I'm there, two people walk up and they asked me if I knew anything about it, and because it was a windy, cold day. And I thought, what are you doing out at our airport, but you're here to look at our tower? And the guy that I spent the time talking to, he takes a 3-week vacation every year from Ireland, and he visits small airports just to see their aircraft and anything World War II related. And I was like, this is incredible. So there's interest out there, and if we can find a way to provide access, I would have loved to told the guy, take a walk up there, just check it out. But well, that's a good point, and we need to. You're right. So in our research, our flight tower is one of only 3 in the country that are exactly like this, that are still standing. We need to find that out. That's a good point. Right? We originally had all kinds of wonderful ideas about maybe having a special, like an auction or a raffle to have a candlelight dinner served up there or something special. But, some of those things are getting shot down real quickly. But That's a good point. Let's find out what the other airports are doing. So that's. Now, we talked about cameras, but that's a great idea to recreate that down below as a static display. That's a great idea. Thank you. Right. Right. Like similar to what we do at the Benelli House, the second floor of the Benelli House. And we're looking, again, this is some of the HR risk management stuff. We are looking at, regardless of where we at with restoration and things like that, but if and when we've got an air show in the works, from what I understand, maybe be able to use that during the air show. That would be quite an attraction for those pilots. Right. I know.
And
I'll report again in 2 months at our next meeting. I'll report again to see where we're at. We should have a little more idea from HR and from the attorney's office. That's what I mean. Right. Great. Thank you. And if you have any other, if you care to look this over, come on over to my office. And if you have any other ideas, by all means, reach out to me. Thank you all.
I just had a question. A restaurant or a bar?
Well, I'll report on the terminal renovation after after the next step. But yeah, we're going to be looking at the cafe will stay out there.
Also got a really good about that. I was going to use Dominic TV. When annex is
What a great idea. Bring a replica down at lower level. Okay. We're thinking now. I like these ideas. Thank you very much.
so the next item will calendar update. Who is not? You have an update?
Bless you. She did not reach out to me recently, but we did speak about 2 weeks ago. Because we obviously aren't going to get a calendar in time for 19 like the original plan was, we talked about moving it for a 2020 calendar. Apparently she's got the photos and everything ready to go. The layout is ready. She's reached out to, and because I didn't know she wasn't going to be here, she did reach out to a firm that would print these calendars for us in varying numbers and at varying costs. And we do have about $1,500 in our historic budget to do that, to print them and have them ready for sale. Based on the sale price, she was thinking $10 to $12, maybe $15 even. And that would more than cover, if we sold them all, it would more than recoup our. But that was in our short discussion. She came to me to kind of help her find some more photos, and but I don't know what she's decided on.
So I will have to
Right. Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep. And that way, and the fact that she's working on it now, we want to have them ready to go by September so we can start selling them as soon as we can. Right.
so on a 5. From Scott Solid, unfortunately, had so not going to be, and will be joining us at our next.
He apologized profusely at 3:30 this afternoon.
Okay, and B. Was used for return of jail.
I will just keep moving right along here. Yes, sir.
I have a question. While I came upon number 50, study.
With the jail?
Have you seen that?
Was it from our commission?
Oh,
Oh.
on the Main Street project.
Hmm.
Now, architect, put, had, issues, access.
I'd like to see that. I'll get a copy from you before we leave. That's interesting.
There are
So,
I made copies, but
quickly, from my standpoint with regard to the jail, we, as you all know, or maybe not all of you because you're new members, but this commission has had this jail and the future of it either on our agenda or being discussed kind of casually for months, if not years. I know we talked about it last summer. I went back a year and a half on our agendas. The last time it was on our agenda to do something was in January of this year. So that was when we actually talked about, let's get serious and find out what we can do with this and offer some suggestions to the county.
I have asked about it during the staff.
Correct. So it's not like we weren't, it's not on our, it's not like it's not on our radar. So on February 1st, we had a special meeting. We toured it. Our commissioner toured it. We toured it with Mojave County staff. The county court administrator, Kip Anderson, was there. He was excited to have us. We had discussions with him. He was very aware of what we were talking about. We tossed around some ideas kind of informally. So then I was really surprised when Kip Anderson called me on Thursday, March 14th, and said, the future of the old jail is on the Board of Supervisors meeting. They want to decide what to do with it. And I was just really surprised. So I had planned to go to that. I told my boss I'm going to head over to the board meeting on Monday to offer the board members our discussions, some of our informal discussions and some of our formal discussions about what the commission would like to see happen with the jail. Mainly, we want to see it remain standing. Well, I was instructed not to go. So on Monday, when the board met, staff gave the Board of Supervisors 3 options of what to do with the building, and I'm going to read them to you here. So the County Public Works Director gave the Board of Supervisors 5 options of what to do with the jail. Do nothing, coupled with recognized, do nothing, coupled with recognized public works facilities, programmed 18,000 maintenance. So they would just leave it stand. Option 2, a county-led facility improvement for ADA compliant public access. In other words, they would leave it as it is, but improve it so it could be accessible. Option 3, solicit practical ideas for adaptive reuse of a historic jail in addition to possible partners and or tenants. Option 4, a collaborative effort with the City of Kingman in developing a new use for the historic jail with an eye toward enhancing the law enforcement center, the new law enforcement justice center campus, tie it in with the new addition. Or number 5, disposal of the historic jail through public auction. So those were the 5 options that the Public Works Director gave the board. The board selected option 3, solicit practical ideas for adaptive reuse, find a partner, a tenant that might occupy it. So when I saw that, I went in and I talked to Mr. Kellogg, and we had some frank and wide-ranging discussions about it. There's no plumbing in the building. The electrical's in horrific shape. The roof is in bad shape. It's just really, most of you toured it. It's just really needs a lot of work. So Gary and I find it hard to believe that they're going to find a tenant willing to go in and do something based on what it sounded like. They wanted a Starbucks or a coffee shop or a sandwich shop or a donut shop or something. We just find it hard to believe that that's going to happen. So my opinion is the county, I think the county's most likely going to come back to the city and say, do you want it? Do you want to use it with us? Do you want to partner with us? Do you want to do something with us? And I'm sure I share this with you guys, I just don't want to see anything happen to it. If they decide to do to the jail what they did to the old hospital, I will chain my chair to the door over there and not let them tear that thing down.
That's where I am now. I am so for what is going on. There's a whole lot of, we want to make this better, we want to sharpen, and we want these things, but because doesn't want to get all this county wants to Starbucks, one of the last territorial jails, or something like that. My concern is that as it turns to a step back, that it acknowledges our construction. And I think it's and I'm just so disheartened by this.
Well, Madam Chair, I share that passion with you, and I've often found, you can't buy this history. And if we are going to advertise at both ends of town to come to historic downtown and we tear the history down, we don't have a historic downtown. So change the signs or be careful what you're doing. And I know we all recognize that not everything can be saved. But if it's...
Some things are special.
If it's listed and it's eligible to be listed on the National Register, we need to be more careful, and we need to, our councils and our Board of Supervisors really need to keep that in mind as well as these projects come about. I can't comment on Palo Christi. It's not that item, but that's an example of one of the buildings that, you know, we need to be careful about. That doesn't fall under this agenda item, I'm sorry, but we can take that up at another time. There was. But it's just in horrible shape. Pipes and are disconnected. Yeah. Yeah.
But, down. So that I'm sure there's kind of in access, not necessarily. Yeah, no, that's fine. And the current.
And there's a little bit of leeway for historic preservation. With regard, it doesn't have to meet that like a new construction code, but
There's leeway that can, for instance, I remember the coffee shop having a problem with the ramp back, exit ramp with the drive-through, and that would have been a problem. That could be done away with as being great. But access handicap, not done away with. Be one of the side doors on the parking lot or the or the side that's on the alleyway that's down. To access there and not have access to anyone. There's running those video things of the upstairs because get someone into that first room, the ramp and one wider door, then you can have that video going in, you can come in jail. Not trust. Yes, you don't have to have a handicap bathroom. We were talking about as the possible way forward for this in a step-by-step basis. First thing we have to do is it doesn't matter shop which are contributing to the creation of the building so there's that. But then once we get the building itself encapsulated, sure that we're talking about as a tourist attraction further downfield, further down, where they can come in and really just that little, next lot, maybe have some of those kind of heavy duty like storyboards in there about things that pass that walk through and read themselves during daylight hours, unmanned, and then just lock the thing up when it got dark, not something of minimal defense on staff. And then maybe as time goes on, we can step further into but just kind of agree that that's what we're talking about. And this whole, let's stop and think about getting a tank in there, is not really a practical business stand. And so what does that really, I don't know. Not my but
right.
yeah, and no parking.
none of us have any idea what the supervisors had in mind when they approved that, but we'll see.
I was really concerned that it's part of a step back and way. Another step towards why are we, what are we doing first? Which is what it is for that. All considerations done.
So if and when I hear more about it, Kip, Mr. Anderson from the court promised to keep me up to date on things that were happening. Of course,
So sorry.
no, thank you. We talked about that. We kind of, and we could auction off a night's stay in the prison, issue a striped suit and a blanket and a loaf of bread and a bottle of water, and just spend one night there. Right. Right. Just don't do it in June. Right. Wait till the spring or fall. But thank you for your time on that. That's all I have.
Indeed, Old Town, so Commissioner Russell had asked for
You know, I'm not certain. The day, I mean, I know which, I'm not, yeah, but I'm not sure. And I don't know, Matt, are you proposing this commission do, do you, right, I know that you and your husband, the tag team, but are you proposing, would you like, you need, I guess I'm wondering what are we after with this item on the agenda? Right.
That's what I was thinking. Sometimes already has like a Girl Scout troop, a karate dojo, we groups work where they approach that with a group that's already got some. Maybe and you're looking at private property.
Right.
That
And that's now you're kind of bleeding over into like abatement, nuisance abatement, and well, I guess I'm looking for direction on what I can do to help. And what am I implementing here? Right. Right. Well, then I guess what I'll do is I'll find out if and when there's the day of caring, what that day is, and if this commission wants to participate in that I'll bring that back to you. I guess I'll just bring back some options, but I guess I'm not clear what I'm looking.
It's target areas, like they did the area across the office that had all that runoff. Put that like foreclosure trap on there.
Right.
Do that down. They target certain areas that so if there's then targeting houses or several of these houses like what the rest of us talked about, kind of one of their priority items. That's kind of where.
Okay.
Sorry? Since 2014, every year on the day of caring, Tony Mellon has gotten a project and got volunteers to do this project. And went to contractors and supply gravel. Every year there has been one big project. The rest of the towns adopt block people,
Right.
adopt Boy Scouts.
See, so I'm still struggling.
Continue a little bit, Bill. I'm sorry.
Sure. See, you're welcome. Why don't you step up to the microphone?
But Old Town, a lot of the properties they're owned by private people, and I think some of them are probably rental units, and I think we got to get to the owners of the buildings, find out just what their intentions are. Are they going to fix it up? And then if the place is run down as far as various codes are concerned, the Clean City Commission, we can check them out if the weed abatement is out of control. Call Neighborhood Services and get them onto it. We can't, if there's nothing wrong with the house legally, if it's not a fire hazard or something like that, sewage running out of it or anything, there isn't a whole lot you can do as far as condemnation. And that takes forever from what I can see, because there's a bunch of places along Topeka that have been tagged and they're still boarded up.
And that,
But we can, now we had what we called the paint-a-thon, and people would submit their hardship cases. They couldn't do the work themselves for either their age or disabilities, and we would pick 2 houses, go out, prep them, paint them, and we supplied everything: paint, labor, the whole works. We could get something like that going again. It's strictly all volunteer, but it has. I don't know how you go about picking these people, or
right, and that's where I'm kind of lost here. What role does the Historic Commission play? It sounds to me it's a lot of this is. I mean, we could help. We'd be willing to help because it is part of our historic downtown.
Yeah.
But what role do we play as far as finding locating the people or the residents, or
that would be the big help, or just picking out houses in the Old Town area that have some historic significance, if nothing more than just age and appearance, that are starting to decay, and see
approaching the residents.
Approach the residents.
We could do that with we could start with approaching the properties that we know are listed on the National Register, approaching those owners and saying, look, your house is listed, and maybe we notice it's not, that it needs some minor things done, but there's got to be real careful about private property rights.
I don't know if the fire department makes any kind of inspections at all as far as houses that could be in
not anymore.
Not anymore.
And that goes back to what you were mentioned about the list. I know that Mr. Doherty had a list of properties that were really in bad shape that needed, but that also that's right.
Yeah,
it was a lot of, the building official had a list of properties that we were going to look at, and it was serious code violations. But again, and there was also a budget that went with that, and part of that is gone. So, yeah, right.
Back in 2014, just before the big Route 66 festival, I went down and just every piece of property I left a flyer and let them know that there was going to be a community-wide cleanup at the fairgrounds, and they could bring their trash for free, and it made a difference. Old Town started cleaning up a little bit, and maybe we need to do that again.
I think to follow your lead and to tie it into this commission, if you don't mind, maybe we start looking at just the properties that are listed that we have.
Yeah.
The residential properties that are listed. Maybe if we could get a volunteer to take that list and go around and maybe take a photo if there's an issue that we want to correct on that property. Well, and that's what I'm asking for. Right.
So, what are we talking about? That we're going to try to first create a list, I guess, or see if they have carried it.
We're
Yeah,
talking about three different, cleanup we're already doing. Talking about houses, other property. We've been talking about.
yeah.
Right.
Problem with me, here's the Rick Drive. Right? Okay, so here's a house, right? Cars with windows broken out. On price or here. All and everything.
And
So if you get, there's one on Eastern, the same, I don't know. Bring it over there and stack it up. City will make. I watched the city of Bullhead put, we're down 56,000. And what, down Bullhead, the downtown Bullhead. We don't enforce our ordinance. When somebody that's a good neighbor has their home in Texas, we should be. The city should help, but it doesn't. I don't know whether they're afraid to go ahead. We've got a long creek out here. Somebody, our subdivision.
so,
Just know they'll clean it up. So we don't put up with it. It just seems like, even especially across the tracks, it's much. You guys that have bought lots of houses, but there ought to be a course. They don't clean it up. It's not fair to the rest of it.
we're bleeding over into a lot of different areas here, and, you know, a nuisance abatement that falls under, you know, code violations, and then there's the building department's responsibilities,
So
or,
that is our goal as historic preservation.
right. You got,
Have a
Historic aspect is all that.
so is that,
we should look at the listed properties and the ones that have been, I'll say aesthetic.
or even zoning violations like
Yeah.
weed problems, or just yard cleanup and things like
The
that.
city should do that. Already got to clean up. I think what Steve said is the house is historic. The old people that have some slumlord. And we could maybe, that's some funds, maybe project, to say we'd like to help preserve this historic.
Right.
That's the only way that I should.
That's what I mean.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The list of historic properties.
Go through the list of historic properties. And some that are in that major category and have a conversation.
And I mean, see if it go have a conversation. Someone in the pay for it, or something. For preservation. I don't see how else we get involved if we have. Why are we talking about this?
Yeah, that one. And I got people.
You know what? Let's,
Don't have any money either.
Yeah, we're
right.
not lack of interest.
Let's-
Not lack of desire.
To maybe move this along, let's do a couple of things here. Let's see what our Main Street group, there's some representatives from the city at the National Main Street Conference in Seattle right now, all this week, because a lot of this can be, you know, ties into a little bit with the Main Street approach. Let's see what happens with that. And then let's bring this up again after, for our next meeting, after we can take a look at what's out there right now. We don't have an action item. We don't have a budget to do anything at this point, but they still wouldn't let us clean them up. That's my point. Excuse me. Madam, is there an item on this? That probably would be the next step. Commissioners,
You get donated paint all the time. That's a lot.
Commissioners, if as your liaison, if you want to help me to craft an agenda item, I will put it on the City Council agenda for discussion and possible action by the full council. I'll commit to that.
That makes sense. I think what you're hearing here is a general frustration with things that need to be done, and we don't have the power to do anything about it, and so we
I think this is an instance where if we work together, and myself as your liaison, and we work together, we put something on the City Council agenda for discussion, possible action for the whole council, that you are getting something done. I mean, I'll certainly take that, and as a one council member, I do have the authority to put something on the agenda.
thank you.
so
May I ask you, there's an item that we,
I know it's
oh,
I
okay.
need to backtrack. I skipped over and received accidentally the 2019 Park Conservation Conference. That will be held in Prescott, June 12th, 19th. Correct. I was going to say that's a long span of time.
Way too long.
Yeah.
I looked up the website.
14th to 19th. That's a typo.
Well,
Oh,
Oh.
sorry. 12 through June 14th are the dates of the conference. Prescott, commissioners may attend.
We have room for two. And if I would, okay. Anyone else that would like to go?
I would be very
Sure.
I'm going to the end of the day, I may find myself.
Okay. Right. New Commissioner Warren, would you be interested? It's a great experience.
Fantastic. Really is.
It's a great experience, and this one proves to be really exciting because it's in Prescott, right downtown, in one of the most historic towns in the state. You'd be interested?
I would
I could probably go, but I think better.
Right, because right,
They really are. They really are.
you get a chance to network. You get a chance to reach out in areas maybe you're not familiar with. They do archaeology. I don't know if they have.
Yes. Conference administration.
It's, yeah, because there are several sessions each day that you can attend. We can look at the agenda if you want to come to the office. If we have 2 people interested, we'll go with that, and if not, we'll,
If they can, I probably can,
okay,
but obviously, yeah.
okay.
On the agenda for the conference.
Well, usually what they do on the first day is it's usually people arriving in sort of a building somewhere with like a buffet kind of thing, so they're setting up and properties and sort. And then the sessions start the next. That's what was my experience. That first day might be that.
Right, if you couldn't make the,
Um,
oh,
Second day only has.
and this might, they may still be filling the agenda up. They may do that. But thank you. As long as we've got 2 interested, we know who's going, we can discuss the other stuff later. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Next item, announcement by, limited to announcement, availability or attendance at conference. Request for agenda items. Request for staff notice on any commission members have any.
We will see that at our next meeting. I apologize, but our city clerk is really kind of underwater right now. She's just swamped, and we will, because there's only one. We usually have a city clerk and an assistant. We only have an assistant right now. Our city clerk is out temporarily. So we'll have somebody here at the next meeting in May. Oh, no, thank you, not a problem. Would you mind speaking into the microphone? I cannot even hear you. Oh, as a commissioner? Okay. We thought you took the lifetime appointment. We'll check that. Thank you. We'll check that, Ms. Russell. We'll check that.
I'm just an observer, but I'd like to get on my soapbox here just for a minute. I appreciate the historic preservation. I've only been involved with history here at the end. I always thought history was actually. Anyway, I'd like to say, I appreciate what Scott said. We need to concentrate on what. I mean, you're talking all this time on what you're talking about cleaning up. That has nothing to do. I think it's important. Need a list. Building. Preservation. Concentrate on already on your historical. You're not. The historical preservation needs to take the leadership. Nobody else is going to. I've been going to a lot of city councils. The one this afternoon, this one here, and I think you guys got the work.
sitting there.
So
You don't
It's
really
still-
have any
it's-
control.
it's right.
you know.
isn't his presentation to tell what to do with the jail when you guys really
You don't want any of the properties downtown or any of the businesses
No, I mean,
in
if you've
town?
got a historical district, you have historical buildings that are
Okay,
going to
this is,
hell, excuse me.
yeah, this is off the agenda at this point, so I have to stop it for that reason.
That's okay.
But,
I'll put my soapbox.
but yeah, you're kind of missing a lot of conversation. Hearing no other, reports or questions or announcements, do I have a motion